It's funny how a single, seemingly minor mistake can unravel an entire life. For me, that mistake was an email. My name is Mark, I'm 34, and up until 3 months ago, I thought I had a decent life. I had a solid job in marketing, a comfortable house in the suburbs, and a wife, Sarah, whom I believed was my partner in every sense of the word. We'd been together for 8 years and married for 5. While we didn't have kids yet, we'd been discussing it, or at least I thought we had. But that was all before October 15th, the day everything fell apart. It started like any other day. I remember it clearly because it was so ordinary. The leaves were just starting to change color, and the crisp autumn air hinted at the colder months ahead. Sarah kissed me goodbye that morning, like she always did. She was wearing her favorite perfume, the one I bought her for our anniversary last year. I'd assumed it was for me. Looking back, it was probably for him. Work was its usual chaos. Deadlines loomed, and I was drowning in coffee and to-do lists when I got an email notification. It was from Sarah. This wasn't unusual. We often sent each other little messages during the day. But when I opened it, I knew something was off. The subject line read, "From my love," and the email began, "My dearest David," David, her boss. The same David she'd been working late with for months. The same David she'd mentioned in passing more times than I could count. Married David, with 2 kids. My stomach dropped. My hands trembled as I read the email. It was intimate, detailed, and heart-wrenching. She wrote about how his touch made her feel alive, how their secret meetings in his office were the highlights of her day. She talked about their weekend getaway disguised as a business trip and their plans for the future. But the part that gutted me was the closing line. "I've never felt this way about anyone before, not even Mark. What we have is real. Not even Mark. Not even her husband of 5 years." I sat frozen, staring at the screen, my mind racing. I forwarded the email to my personal account and deleted it from my work computer. I needed proof, but I also needed time to think. This wasn't just about Sarah's infidelity. It was about her and David, their workplace, and their lies. I had to be smart. That evening, Sarah came home late as usual, with some excuse about a project deadline. Standing in our kitchen, the same kitchen we remodeled together, I felt like a stranger in my own home. She walked in around 7:30, her cheeks flushed, her hair slightly messy. She'd changed outfits during the day, swapping the blouse she left in for a sweater I didn't recognize. Probably another gift from him. She kissed me on the cheek, acting like everything was normal. I wanted to confront her right there, but I didn't. I needed more. "How's work?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, you know, busy as always," she replied, not meeting my eyes. David's really pushing for this new client presentation to be perfect. David. There it was again. I wondered how many times I'd heard his name over the past few months, how many clues I'd missed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, listening to Sarah's steady breathing, wondering how long this had been going on. The next morning, I called in sick and started digging. I'm not proud of it, but I went through her laptop. What I found made me physically ill. Hundreds of emails, photos, hotel reservations. Everything documented in perfect detail. They'd gotten careless, confident they wouldn't get caught. I downloaded everything and called a lawyer. Lisa, my lawyer, was blunt. "This is good," she said, after I showed her the evidence. Not just for divorce proceedings, but there could be workplace implications too. Let them think they're safe. Gather more evidence before you confront her. For 2 weeks, I lived a lie. I went to work, came home, kissed my wife, and pretended everything was normal. Meanwhile, I documented her every move. I tracked her late nights, business trips, and even her spending from our joint account. The hardest part was the act. Every "I love you," every touch, every shared moment felt like a dagger. Then came the company Christmas party. Sarah had been talking about it for weeks, probably excited to spend time with David outside the office. I usually skip these events, but this time, I told her I'd go. "Really?" she asked, surprised. "You hate these parties." "Maybe it's time I met all these people you work with," I said. "Especially David. You talk about him so much, I feel like I should know him better." She tried to hide it, but I saw the panic flash across her face. "Oh, that's great, though it might be a busy night. Not sure how much time we'll have to chat with everyone." The party was at a fancy hotel downtown. Sarah spent hours getting ready, locked in the bathroom with her favorite playlist blasting. Normally, I'd sit on the bed, helping her choose outfits, zipping up dresses, and telling her how beautiful she looked. This time, she didn't ask for my opinion. She emerged wearing a dress I'd never seen before, probably bought for him. When we arrived, I finally got to see them together. They thought they were being subtle, but their glances, their proximity, their shared laughter, it was all too obvious. I played my part, the oblivious husband, while documenting everything. Watching them was like watching a bad movie. They kept finding excuses to disappear at the same time, thinking no one noticed. I noticed. As the night went on, my plan solidified. This wasn't just about divorce anymore. It was about making sure they faced the consequences of their actions. By the time we left the party, I knew what I had to do. It was like I'd been cast in a twisted theater production, where I was the only one who knew the real plot. David's wife, Clara, a kindergarten teacher with kind eyes, was proudly showing everyone pictures of their kids. The same kids Sarah had joked about being a stepmom to in her emails. The irony made my stomach churn. The breaking point came around 10 p.m. after watching them perform their little dance of carefully orchestrated casual encounters all evening. Sarah slipped away from a group conversation, and David followed her a few minutes later. Their timing was so practiced, it was clear they'd done this before. I waited 30 seconds, then followed them, my phone recording quietly in my pocket. They were tucked away in a quiet hallway near the hotel's conference rooms, hidden behind a large decorative plant that had likely witnessed countless similar secrets. I heard Sarah's voice, low and urgent. "We need to be careful tonight," she said. "Mark's been acting weird lately. I think he suspects something." David laughed. "Relax, baby. He's clueless. Did you see him in there? Completely oblivious. Besides, we've been careful." "I know," Sarah sighed. "But sometimes I feel guilty." "Don't," David replied smoothly. "We can't help how we feel. Sometimes these things just happen." I'd heard enough. My whole body shook with anger as I walked away. These things just happen? No, they don't. People make choices. And now it was time for me to make mine. The next morning, I woke early, made coffee, and watched the sunrise, a fitting symbol for the dawn of a new chapter in my life. I'd already packed most of my important documents and irreplaceable belongings the day before, storing them at my brother's place. The previous night, as Sarah lay asleep beside me, I realized it would be the last night I'd spend in that bed. At exactly 8 a.m., while Sarah and David were likely settling into their morning routines at the office, I put my plan into motion. First, I sent an email to David's wife, Clara. I'd spent hours crafting it, aiming for a balance of compassion and clarity. I attached just enough evidence to confirm the affair without sharing the most explicit details. No one deserves to read messages like that. Next, I emailed their company's HR department and board of directors, documenting their affair and misuse of company resources. Finally, I sent one last email to Sarah. Check your sent emails from 3 weeks ago, specifically the one titled "For My Love." Looks like you sent it to the wrong person. I want a divorce. I'd already moved out most of my belongings a day before while she was at work. My lawyer had the divorce papers ready, and I was safely at my brother's place when the fallout began. The notification started almost immediately. Sarah called 17 times in an hour. David tried too. I didn't answer. Clara sent a brief message. Thank you for telling me. So sorry this happened to you too. The aftermath unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Their company acted swiftly. Both Sarah and David were fired. Turns out other employees had noticed their special relationship and were more than willing to speak up. Clara filed for divorce the same week I did. About a week later, Sarah showed up at my brother's house, disheveled and desperate. The polished, confident woman who had been sneaking around with her boss was gone. Instead, she was a shadow of herself. "Please, Mark," she begged. "We need to talk. It's not what you think, not what I think." I said, calm but firm. "I read the email, Sarah. I heard you at the party. I know everything. It was a mistake," she cried. "I never meant to hurt you. David and it just happened." "No," I replied. "It didn't just happen. You made choices. Every secret meeting, every lie, you chose this. Now, you get to live with the consequences." I shut the door on her tears and excuses, closing that chapter of my life for good. It's been 3 months since everything fell apart, and I'm finally finding my footing. The divorce is moving forward smoothly, thanks to the undeniable evidence. I've moved into a new apartment, a fresh start, free of memories of Sarah. There are still hard days. A song, a smell, or a passing couple can trigger the pain. But mostly, I feel relief. The woman I thought I loved never truly existed. She was a character Sarah played, and I was just an unwitting part of her audience. Now, I'm focusing on rebuilding, on rediscovering who I am. I've taken up boxing, joined a photography club, and even started cooking lessons. To anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts, gather your evidence, and don't let them diminish your worth. Sometimes, the worst moments of your life are the catalyst for the best ones. Sarah's betrayal shattered my world, but it also set me free. And for that, I'm grateful.